Yo, what's up, everybody? NMaktima. Hopefully, this is live. Let me know, anybody out there. Tell me how the audio is, the visual. I'll be going back and forth in between this face and the fly. So, um, hope everybody's out there is having a good time. I got a couple things going on right now. So I'm doing the Instagram live, and I thank everybody for joining. I thank Umpqua for putting this on and inviting me to be part of this live series, the Umpqua Signature Tyer series, the Fit to be Tied, all that stuff. So unlike some of the previous tires, just as a heads up, I am actually recording this on another camera to give to Umpqua for them to broadcast and to archive on YouTube. So you'll have something of significant quality that you can reference and go back to and play over and over and over again. So hopefully that all works out for you. Glad the audio is coming through. And as far as the blurriness, that may just be my internet connection. So hopefully that comes through and you'll be able to see. I'll try to keep this, a little bit on the slow, diligent side so you can actually see the fly that I'm tying. So for all who don't know who I am, my name is NMaktima again. I'm the senior guide at High Desert Angler. I've been with them for about 22 years. I have competed with Fly Fishing Team USA and the youth team. I started in 1997, 98, went up to the adults. So I've been competing for about 22 years until about 2018 when I won nationals in Bend, Oregon, and decided to take a break. So I needed some of that me time. I already went into isolation and self-quarantine 2 years ago. Just been time flies. So with that, competition side has had a lot of influence on my fly tying. Needless to say, the first fly that I'll get into, the HDA variant, is a result of that. Let's see. I had a list of things that I needed to make sure that I covered for you guys. And as far as patterns go, I've been with Umpqua for a long time. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with my name or the patterns that I've had in the past. I had the aerial assault, the candy corn, feast beast caddis. Those were patterns that have been discontinued. Currently in the Umpqua lineup are the ICU midge, the HDA variant, the low water betas, and the latest of the Umpqua family, the Chingon. So I'll definitely get to the HDFA variant and the Chingon. And if I get more time, I may get into the low water or the ICU midge. However, on the Umpqua YouTube channel, which is where the other video will be linked to, I will have all those flies in that video. So you'll be able to see all of that stuff. All right, so let's get to fly tying. Let me switch the view here. All right, hopefully y'all can see this. So to start off with, I am going with the HDA variant. Let me zoom that in a little bit. Hopefully y'all can see that. So the HDA variant, great pattern for me, great searching pattern, attractor pattern, has a lot of volume, great profile. Tied in the round, even though it has a ventral or a dorsal side to it. Sorry, not a ventral, a dorsal side with the flashback. However, it's just to add a little bit more glamour to it. So that's the HDA variant. We're going to tie this on a 14. Now, what you find being delivered by Umpqua is tied on a... I gotta get my hooks right here. A 403, I believe. So again, a jig hook, and these sizes are going to be from a 12 down to a 16. Since the 403, that's what it's available in. However, tonight, because of what I had and with the whole Corona thing, me getting things delivered and whatnot, I'm actually going with still in the Tiemco Umpqua family. We're gonna go with a 450 BL. I've been playing around with this hook quite a bit, and in a size 14. Again, going with about the biggest that I can get away with for you guys to see, but also I'm not gonna get out of the realm of what I actually fish. I'm not going with something that's overly sized because proportions get skewed and all that stuff. So we're staying within the fishing realm and what is available to you via Umpqua. So again, the 450, C450 from Tiemco in a 14. As far as the bead goes, slotted gold bead in a 3.3 mil. You can get away with 3.5 if you want to be really picky about it, but you know, it's one or the other, honestly. So as far as my thread, what I'm gonna run with here is just some Vivas in a 14-aught light olive color. I like this thread. It's nice, strong, durable, and in a 14, it allows you to build bodies consistently well. So just gonna get my thread started right at the bead, filling in just inside the bead itself. Go ahead and trim your tag there. Now, these flies, being that, you know, again, they stem from competition, sink rate has the utmost priority, if you will, in the tight line Euro nymphing realm, and which is, you know, kind of been the I don't know, I'm losing the words here. Basically, you know, competition guys are synonymous with Euro nymphing, tight line nymphing, even though we fish everything else as well in competition. So how I size my beads is generally a little bit oversized, or, you know, from conventional patterns, I'm looking at getting a good sink rate on this. And on top of this, just to add with sink rate, but also to help with tapering the body, I'm going to go ahead and add in 0.015 lead wire. And the way I tie in my lead wire is I just go ahead and drop it. I'm actually going to bring my thread a little closer to mid center of the shank here, and then just drop that in. So as far as questions go, feel free to drop questions on Instagram. I see one here. What's the smallest C450 you feel comfortable with? Right now, the only one that I know that I can get my hands on is a 16, and I definitely tie these down to a 16. I've actually tied these when we were in Slovenia. We were only allowed one fly on the rig itself. It wasn't a one fly competition, but we were just allowed a single fly. We tied these up to a size 8, and we actually double layered the lead to get the sink rate that we needed on these. So that was pretty crazy. So that was about 4 or 5 wraps. Just as long as I get it up against the base of the bead, that's what I'm looking for. Crisscross my wraps on the back side and in front, and then I can go ahead and just wiggle and break that away there. So having the rotary gets my hook placement to where I can keep the thread free of the body of the fly and not risk cutting the thread or anything like that. About trout, what's up? How you doing? Alec, dude, there's all kinds of peeps on here. NCO Fish. Love to see my peeps on here. All right, so I'm going to bring my thread back towards the bend of the hook, just where the bend starts and initiates. Now, and you guys got to excuse me, I have this dry cough, and it's not the Rona, I swear. I've had allergies as well as slight asthma, so during these times through the winter, it really sucks for me. So I will be clearing my throat, try not to just cough on you. And I know for some people it may be a little annoying, but just bear with me. So what we're going to do next is we're going to tie in the tail. Bronze mallard, just natural. And the reason why I like bronze mallard is just because of that dark and nice textured patterning on the material itself. So what I did is I just folded the fibers away from basically the stem, and just to align these tips up. Again, just kind of your standard fly tying trick here. Just rip the stem away from the fibers there. Switch hands so they're lined up. Now, I definitely want this tail, and I don't know, that was about 1/2 inch of material there. So I'm just going to pinch these all down so I can tie them in. I want the tail length about the full length of the body. Wrap that in. Now, actually, that might be a little short. I kind of like this tail to just be a slightly longer, but I think I just made it perfect. All right, that's more like body length there. So at this point, we got moving along. Any more questions? Any more questions? Brassy from UTC, copper. Gonna tie that in. Now in the 14 and the 12, I do like the brassy. I don't go any bigger. I just feel like it kind of builds too much bulk in the body itself. Now, if I went to a 16, I would downsize the wire diameter to a small. I'm going to go ahead and wrap that in. Now, if you notice, when I tied in my tail, my bronze mallard, I did 1 or 2 turns just to hold it. Big fan of less is more in tying in material. You can create a lot of bulk, and honestly, if you tie in your material and don't cut your tags close to your tying point, you can layer those in under your thread wraps to help build the taper, which also increases durability. Notice how much of that material is getting wrapped underneath. So I'm cutting right up against the wire wraps, the lead wraps there. And when I laid my wire down, the end of the wire butts right up against my lead wraps there. So it's creating this taper. One thing that always annoyed me was just this stair step effect you get from a wire or your under body of your lead wire, and then you just get the stair step, so it doesn't really look that great. So I'm just kind of filling in that gap, that little stair step, creating a little taper to it. And then we're actually going to add in, for the flashback, some pearlescent tinsel in the flat. I like the large on this one. Creates a nice flashback to it, giving it some coverage. A lot of times when you pull it off, you look how it's curved. I tend to just go ahead and use my thumb and forefinger, or thumbnail, and just straighten it out a bit. Same thing here. I will line this up to where the tinsel is directly on top. Again, even with or butting up against the lead wire, and then I'll go ahead and tie all that down uniformly. Okay, so again, if you all have any questions, please just feel free to give me a shout. So question is, can I use this fly under your rig? Definitely. This is actually how this fly came about. So actually, just a backstory to this fly. Again, the name is HDA Fave Variant. Again, as I mentioned, I'm a guide for High Desert Angler. HDA stands for High Desert Angler. They have a custom tie called the HDA Favorite. Basically, it's a stripped down version of this. However, as far as competition and as far as efforts of tying in the round, meaning that no matter what orientation this fly is in, it doesn't have a ventral or dorsal side. The effectiveness is always there, because your flies, even in a Euro jig hook type style, you know, the idea or the thought is that the hook rides point up through the drift. Not always so. Microcurrents and hydraulics will always manipulate and twist your flies through the drift. So tying in the round gives you the benefit of having this fly always in basically a proper orientation. Excuse me. So as far as the HDFA variant, adding components that I like, changing the hook, changing the weight dimension, changing the bead size, hot spot, and a soft tackle collar. That's the variant aspect of this fly. Again, you know, I took an existing pattern. I'm not naming it completely different. I'm going to give credit where credit's due, and that's the credit to that particular pattern. They were tied by former employees of High Desert Angler, I want to say in the 90s. So it's kind of it's got history in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Oh, and High Desert Anglers in Santa Fe, New Mexico, if y'all didn't know. One of the question was, if I tie this fly in a smaller size, you can still get away with a 0.15 lead wire, but at that point you might want to go with 0.010 just to keep the taper the same. Yeah, let me try and focus on that a little bit better. Hopefully that works, but yeah, just see if and it could, as far as the focus, that could be internet as well. So bear with me. And again, as far as focus, hopefully you guys are just taking notes, and this will actually come out again. I am recording this on another camera to let Umpqua utilize in a much higher quality 1080 format so they can put on their YouTube channel. If you all didn't know, Umpqua has a YouTube channel, and all those other live signature tire sessions are archived on there, so you can go back and check those out. So what I'm going to add in right now is just some hairs dubbing. Just nothing super fancy. You don't have to get all crazy on these, you know. We're going to just go ahead and layer this in. So I don't use any wax when I dub. I feel there's actually no need for wax. It prohibits and limits me from doing what I want to with dubbing most times. So I'm just dubbing it, and without wax, it allows me to move this little noodle, if you will, there's a bunch of names for it, up and down to put it in position where I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping my dubbing or dub thread here, work my way up to the bead. Let's see if I got this. Oh, look at that. Perfect. So what I'm going to do now, since I got my dubbed body, you can see there's a slight taper, a lot of crazy little spiky guard hairs popping up here and there. You don't have to worry about it so much. Oh, you got out of focus. I'm going to bring my tinsel back over the top here and go ahead and bind that down directly at the back of the bead. Couple turns, one turn in front. Now, usually what I do in order to cut my tinsel or anything like this, I just score the edge and then I can break it away. And that actually gives you a nice, clean, tight cut against the body there. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my copper wire. Oh, sorry if I bumped the camera. I'm going to start ribbing. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then 4 just right at the base, which eventually actually will just get covered. So reason why, I know a lot of folks out there, a lot of tires, they really, compress their ribbing. I'm not a fan of that. I believe in contrast. So when you look at, let's say, like zebra stripes or anything like that, the reason why zebra stripes have striping as they do is to create confusion, is to blend and muddle all the other individuals together. It just confuses the predators. So I feel it's the same way when you're creating ribbing on a fly. You put them too close together, it overwhelms the fly, and whatever you're ribbed with becomes the body. It doesn't really give that segmentation that you're looking for, that contrast that you're trying to achieve. So with that, I just did 3 wraps, and then go ahead and just spin your wire off. Oh, where did that one go? Anyway, I'm not going to do that. So go ahead and lay it in there, and you're good to go. Next is going to be, and if you want, you can see how you got some of these little stragglers here and there. You can go ahead and trim those away if you want to be, a little anal about it, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. The fish teeth are going to start ripping those out once they start eating it. So what we're going to do next is go ahead and go into the collar here. So do I tie these as tag nymphs? In this particular pattern, I don't, because it has a hot spot collar. I just feel like as far as this, it's staying more on the natural aspect or spectrum of any of the patterns here. It's kind of staying a little more true to hairs here, but that hot spot collar is going to give it that or highlight, if you will, that tags give other patterns. So we're just going to take some CDC. This is a natural dun. I'm using, if you all want to know, the Trout Hunter stuff. It's really good quality, plus the bulk, tons of feathers that I can burn through. So just taking my little Petagon tool, lock that sucker in there. Hopefully all can see that. Am I guiding right now? Not really. Very sporadic. Looking forward to getting out there and getting more guiding done soon here. So I don't have a whole lot of fibers, and really, truthfully, that was probably just because of the quality of this feather. I should have tried to find something a little better, but hey, I actually do have some other ones. But this you don't need much more than this. Remember, when you fold this into your loop, it's going to fold and double the number of fibers in a sense. So you don't need to have a ton of them. And I'm just going to get rid of those little curly ends there, which basically act like Velcro if you're not careful. So I'm going to put that to the side, create my dubbing loop. If you notice, I'm just looping it around a finger. And I'm just gonna bring my thread over the top and then wind around the loop once, and that's it. Just 2 turns and that'll lock it in place. Remember, as you wrap this, you don't need to do a bunch of turns. When you finish this off, you're gonna tie it down anyway. So you don't need to add a bunch of bulk by excessive tie down wraps, if you will. So I'm just gonna separate this. I'm gonna insert the CDC into the dubbing loop. Got to get rid of one little rogue tag in there. Get it as close to the body of the nymph as possible, and then go from there. And now I got that in my loop. I'm gonna free my finger out of the loop there, and using my little dubbing whirler, stick that in there. Get rid of the scissor here because this is getting crazy. All right, hopefully you all are able to see what's going on, but I'm just spinning the dubbing loop, securing my CDC into the loop. Now, some of you may ask, like, why don't I tie this? I tie the CDC just directly in as a feather. I find there's a lot more durability in this overall. And just get my dubbing whirler out of there. Using my hackle plier just to hold the loop, because that's a lot of material for me to try and spin around the hook. I just find it kind of annoying. All right, so I'm pulling all the fibers back towards the tail, and basically in a wet fly hackle manner, keeping the orientation of the CDC underwing where I want it. Now I can tie that off. 1, 2, done, and that's really it. Take my scissor. Okay, so again, I mentioned a hotspot collar, although I'm not yet done with the collar itself as far as the soft hackle. So I'm actually taking some ultra fluorescent fire orange thread in 70 denier, and this Vivus is 14/0, just as an FYI. So I'm just gonna wrap over. Notice I'm holding my thread in my left hand, and I'm just gonna spin it around, just kind of like how I did the dubbing loop, but I'm gonna do 2 times just to help secure it, because I wanna make sure it's secure, because I'm replacing my tying thread with this hotspot collar thread. Now this is gonna tie in my overwing. So the CDC is the underwing. The overwing gives or maintains profile and maintains a shape to the fly itself. The underwing creates animation. Hope you like my little jazz fingers going on right here. Creates animation as the overwing, which I'll show you the 2 feathers that I prefer, creates profile, if that makes sense to any of you guys. How do you gauge how much material to put in the collar? You know, when I look at a CDC feather, basically that whole feather, just because of the sparseness of it, I'll use it all. If it was a little more dense or these materials were a little more full and fluffy, I may use only half of that. So it just depends on the quality of the CDC feather that you have. That is a whole nother realm. Could be a whole nother series in and of itself, as the French have already put out there, Petitjean and all those folks. Okay, so moving on to the overwing. Traditionally, and how I originally started this, was I utilized partridge. So I would just use a partridge skin, and if you notice in this size range, 14s and 16s, if you look at the wings of the skin here, let me hold this way back here so you can see. So you guys can, just to show you guys, but that little patch right there is the money spot for that size range. However, there was a scenario or a situation where partridge were very hard to raise because of, and I'm sure some of the Umpqua cats can fill this in or correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there was a disease that was running through that was not allowing partridge poults to mature or even egg development or something like that. So the alternative to all that, and actually a great alternative, is Brahma hen. This is the natural, or the mottled gray, which is natural, I believe. So, but again, what I'm looking for and why I like the partridge was the speckling and the texture of the fly or the feather itself. But Brahma hen brings that same coloration and speckling to it. So at the base of this neck here, so again, this is a hen neck. I'm sorry, a saddle, not a neck. This is a saddle. If you look at the base here, these are about the size feathers that will work well for a 14 and even a 12. 12, you could get into this realm up in here. But if you get into 16s, it's better to set these into a dubbing loop again. And that way you get your proportion right. What I'm looking for is this overwing to be just past the base of the tail there. And I say that now, we'll see how it actually comes out when I tie it in. So again, I stripped off all the fuzzies and just I'm going to utilize the tip end of this. Usually what I do just to start it off is I'll set it in my hackle plier just at the very tip there, and then I'll work this material away and then get rid of my hackle plier. And at this point, hopefully y'all can see this and not moving around too much. I'm just going to clip that tip end away. Again, just cleaning it up before I even tie it in. And then I can go ahead and tie in. I'm looking at, hold on, I got CDC wanting to get in on this. Tie that in. Convex side facing me. And so that way when I tie it in, again, as a wet fly style, all the material faces backwards towards the tail. Again, creating that basically like a aerodynamic, hydraulic dynamic profile. So I'm just stroking those fibers back against the stem and then just wrap forward. What I like to do is I like to wrap this as close to the bead or right at the base of the bead as much as I can. And really all you're gonna get is maybe 1.5 turns, and that's gonna be enough for this fly. I don't really want it overwhelmed by the overwing where you're basically eliminating the CDC underwing. So at that point, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the stem here, just right at the base, and then slowly bring, because you will have fibers tied in underneath, just bring that out and rotate your vise in a tightening down fashion. And then I'm getting, if I can, without creating too big of a collar, I'm catching in some of the stem that's laying down against the body there. So that's pretty much the HDFA variant. The proportion of the overwing, again, like I said, is just past the base of the tail, about midway of the tail there, and that's why I made the tail as long as the body, or the hook itself, and go from there. So let's whip finish this. One trick I have learned, and FYI, you know, I've tied a lot. What tool you use to put the CDC in the loop with? It's the Petition tool, magic tool. I think even the website is on there. Little tool plug. Wish he paid me for that. A lot of stuff that I learned, honestly, I learned from a lot of other people. And just to give a shout out, one YouTube channel that I have no problems with calling out and giving a shout out is the Davy McPhail. And then y'all can learn how to speak Scottish. But he, just watching his video, just picked up a lot of little tips that made my fly tying much cleaner and much more efficient. So putting my UV resin on the thread itself, giving it about an inch coat, and I'm using the extended whip finisher here. And I can go ahead and just start whip finishing my tie down. Oh, that was not good. I caught it in the eye. It's in the eye. Oh, just trim it down, get rid of any of these weird little tags. That was not clean. That was not cool. Okay, that looks all right. And then you can hit it with the light. Now, the little hotspot collar, and to answer a previous question about do I tie these in a tag or bright tag, hot tag, I don't, because that collar, along with the gold bead, along with the little flashback, it gives enough, or it basically highlights itself enough. And again, with this profile, as it flows in the water, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of animation to the fly itself. So it's basically, it doesn't need much more than that. So that's the HDA Fave variant. Again, sizes 12, 14, and 16. Competition 403 from Tiemco. This is the 450. I've been liking this hook. I've been enjoying it. Solid hookups. So, don't be afraid to play around with different hooks. And again, utilize hooks that you feel confident in and are comfortable with. So, all right. Fly number 1 down. So, real quick. Again, thanks for all the questions. I appreciate that. I actually have some questions for you. I don't want this all just to be about me. Let me look at you guys here for a moment. Let's see. So I got a little list here. My little notes. So actually, to everybody out there, I know not many people are getting out there and being able to fish because of stay-at-home orders. What do they call it? Self-quarantine, and what is it? Stay in... I forget what they call it. They call it something else. But anyway, for those of you that are able to get out there, have you guys been fishing, getting time out? I'd love to hear if there's any place where you're at, statewide, stateside, or even in other countries, what your situation is like. I know we're all kind of going through this scenario. I haven't really been getting out myself. Somebody had asked if I've been guiding. Nope. So it's been pretty slow. Been tying a lot of flies, actually, doing a lot of custom orders. So just let me know. We just can't keep this party rolling here. Okay, so the next one, and the latest fly that is part of the Umpqua family, the newest, and really, as far as the competition stuff, it has been brought to our attention in the U.S. and around the world from the folks in Spain. We're looking at the Perdigon family. Hold on, this guy's not wanting to... There you go. We got the Perdigon family on this. And, oh, cool. Looks like the Juan in New Mexico is still open. People are fishing that. Sweet. Pedro Lopez from Argentina. Hope you're doing well down there. Somebody's sticking some bluegills. That's awesome. Washington, May 5th, they're opening up. Oh, happy for you guys. I know you guys haven't been getting out all that often. Hey, and actually people are fishing close to home, just hitting the home waters. You gotta love the home waters. They're always there, and people forget about them. So,
You see how it's not coming through?
okay. So anyway, I got my girlfriend here. She's helping me with the questions feed, and actually, if there's any questions you see, you can tell me, because I know these things are delayed and whatnot. So yeah, the Chingon or the Perdigon. Again, you're looking at thin profile, fast sink rate. You're dealing with trying to keep these flies in the fish zone, their feeding zone, as much as possible from when you deliver the cast, as soon as it hits the water, to when you lift the flies up out of the water to make the next cast. You want to keep those flies in that fish's face for as long as possible. Upper Kings, yes, I fished that. God, that was like in 2007. We had a regional up there. So as far as these Perdigon flies, that's how they're designed, but at the same time, they're not totally off base. They don't look like much, very thin profile, tail, body, thorax, bead, and paint. Excuse me. However, with these patterns, and you look at natural flies, natural mayflies in particular, their body type and body shape and style is very slight, slender. the thorax, which houses all the legs and the wing pads, all the organs, if you will, not including the gills. It creates this really boxy structure on them. So, you know, having a thin tail and a tapered abdomen into that boxy thorax head, if you will, creates a great profile, you know, out there, simulating, you know, most of the mayflies that are existing in the water or in the rivers themselves. Wow, looks like a lot of people are getting out. What's the Caneos like right now? I haven't even been up there, but I know a few people have gone up there. That was last week. Flows are good, water clarity was excellent, and fish were just hungry. So, but I haven't been up there yet. Maybe soon. The Pooter. Haven't been on the Pooter in a long time. Awesome. Glad to see people are getting out there and fishing. I'm a little jealous. So anyway, I developed a pattern I've been working on for a number of years called the Chingon. And for all of y'all New Mexico cats, norteños, Chingon is like another way of saying it's slick, it's style, it's the shit, you know. Some Spanish slang, even though I'm not Spanish, I'm Native American. My ancestry is of Pueblo descent. But being northern New Mexico, we all incorporate each other's cultures and go from there. So the Purdy Chingon. It's Purdy Chingon. That's all I got to say. So we're going to do this one. There's two colors that are available. Peacock body with a gold bead, orange collar. And then this one with the purple body, pink bead, and pink collar on it. So we're going to go ahead and get this tied. This is tied on the Tiemco 115. That guy right there. And if y'all tuned in a couple days ago, Antonio Rodriguez from Portugal, he was tying on the same hook, and for the same reasons. It's a nice, stout, heavy hook, maintains a great point, doesn't roll very easily, and at the same time, that short point when you set the hook gives great penetration. You know, it gives a great hook set. And again, as far as landing number of fish, as long as you maintain tension while you're fighting them, you should not lose them. So what I need to do is I need to free up one of my bobbins here to tie in or put on another thread here. So we have the 113 in a size 14, and we're using a pink anodized bead. We're not going with a pink painted bead. The anodized bead does stay, maintains its color longer. Let's see, I got a question here. What's the question? You can just tell me it if you want.
Is this strictly moving water fly, or can it be fished in still water?
So this pattern can be fished either in moving water or still water. You can suspend it, doing it off a suspension rig. You know, you can, and I'm not going to really restrict you into this color or any of the other colors. Make it to what you want, but the peacock colored one could be a little bit more Calabasas-y if you would like. But I have fished this suspended either under an indicator or dry dropper out in still water scenarios. So feel free to use it out there. Don't be afraid to venture outside of the normal box, if you will. So base thread or tying thread, we're going to use Ultra in the purple 70 denier, or whatever purple in a 70 denier similar diameter, if you will. Oh, the bead was a 3-3 bead on a 14 hook. Slotted bead still. And what I'm doing here is I'm just filling in that slotted section of the bead there. I'm going to just keep filling in until my thread virtually just gets kicked out of that slot there, like it did just there. And it's going to get a little more snug. There we go. Okay, so just wrap back towards the hook bend, clip my tag. So now that slot isn't going to just start twisting around on me. I kind of keep that slot down on the ventral side there. And if I can push it up and get it seated the way I want it to, it actually opens up the gap a little bit more. Not too different than inverted beads. Gonna start playing around with some of that stuff. I ordered some from, I hope Umpqua doesn't mind, but I'm just gonna shout out some of my homies. Devin Olson, who is also on a previous session. He's the owner of Tactical Fly Fisher. He has some great beads, so that's where I get my beads from. But I got my inverted beads from him, and I know he's got some patterns that utilize that inverted bead, and so I'm excited to get into that. Always room to learn, always room to build the tying arsenal. So with this one, we're gonna go Coq de Leon. You can see here's a nice feather, and the reason why we like Coq de Leon is because of the speckling, the texture. It just creates a great impression of the modeling in a natural fly. So I got the fuzzy stuff all stripped down. There is a dull side versus a shiny side, but as far as tails go, that all gets kind of blended together. I'm taking about half an inch of material there. Roughly, I'd say it's about 15, 20 strands, somewhere in there. And the reason why we like these is because they're rigid, they're durable, and they have some shine to them. So, they actually make great tails in that regard. So I'm just evening up the ends by pulling the fibers perpendicular to the stem. Just pinch those ends, rip the stem away, line up my tips. And again, same thing. I want this tail to be the same length as the body. Switch hands here, lay it on. 1, 2, that's a little long. Push it forward just a bit. That looks a little better there. So I got just 2 or 3 wraps just to hold it down. So the next thing, we're gonna lay in the body. Hey, Laguna Burger got a shout out. Awesome. Love Laguna Burgers. So the body itself is just UV purple crystal flash. So I'm I took a couple strands. I'm gonna lay those in. I'm actually just gonna fold it over the thread here. Makes it a lot easier to lay them in, and then just fold that. And then basically I'm just using my thread to pull it down towards the hook and then wrap towards the bend. I will go just as the bend starts, and then bring my thread wraps forward. Now notice I didn't cut anything. I'm wrapping all of this material under my thread wraps. It's helping build the body itself. Trim my tags. And then what I'm going to do here is just create a little taper. And this is another reason why I like the UTC, because it's a flat thread. It builds and tapers bodies really nicely. So I had to free up a bobbin because I switched out one of the threads for some Glow Bright in the number 1, which is fuchsia, I believe, in any of the catalogs or whatever. So what flies would be good in May for brook, brown, and bows? Depends on where you're at and what river, and basically what bug community you find within those rivers. May, down here at least, and getting into central Colorado for right now, you're going to start dealing a lot with runoff. So things that have good profile, the HDA Fave variant is a good one for some of that stuff. A really good one, great searching pattern. But anything with a hot tag, again, there's a number of hot tags out there, and just off the top of my head, Devon's Blowtorch is a great one. Egan's Frenchie's another good one. It has that hot spot French or UV pink or pink collar on it. So those are good ones right out. Patch Rubber Legs, hands down, solid pattern for searching if you got stoneflies in your river. So I'm just taking my crystal flash, and then just go ahead and wrap my body. And you could do this with the rotary, and I was gonna do that, and hold on. I got distracted with a question. Backtrack here. So what I'm gonna do is actually replace my thread the purple thread with the Glow Bright. So again, I'm just laying that over, twist it around my wrapping thread, and do it again one more time, and that'll lock it down. Again, I'm looking for efficiency and creating this taper, which is ever so slight, with my tags and existing material. Now I'll actually go ahead and just do one whip finish there. I'm going to bring my bobbin cradle around, and we'll go ahead and use the rotary aspect of this. So if you see, I'm just go ahead and I got that one strand kind of getting away from me there. Go ahead and bring it forward. Okay. Got all my crystal flash towards the bead. I'll just tighten it up. Go ahead and wrap that down. 1, 2, and then trim. 45? Okay. So, wow, that happened pretty fast. We're getting close to the end here already. So actually, I'm almost done with this one. Go ahead and just whip finish. Boom. Cinch it down. Clip that. Now, the next thing to do, and I know people are going to comment right away, there is UV black resin that you can utilize. I still have this whole bottle of Sally Hansen's that I'm determined to use up. I hate buying stuff and not utilizing and just have it sit around forever. So I'm just going to shake this bottle up a bit, mix it, and then go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and paint my black spot on top. Now, most Perdigon type flies have just a little spot on the back. I tend to go a little bit more. Again, what I feel this impersonates or mimics is the developed and mature nymph of a mayfly, and usually that means that the wing cases turn black. So that's the painted back of it. It goes well up over the bead, creating a nice wing case, if you will. So that being said, I have one that I already did, because being the nail polish version and not a UV resin, I can't just set it with the torch or the UV light. I gotta let it dry. So I'm just gonna set that one to the side. So if you're tying a bunch of these, just paint the back, set them to the side, let them dry, and then come back and then set your resin. So again, as I mentioned, Tactical Fly Fisher, I like this resin because it works with very well with just the generic UV lights, which are cheap. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm just gonna coat that over, give it a nice coat, and I'm gonna bring it over my painted bead as well. I got a good amount. This is basically a thin, it's not a flow. I wouldn't say it's flow consistency like loon, but it's thin. I'm just gonna keep rotating this. And what I'm doing is just making sure that that resin is creating a nice little transition between, basically over the collar there. It creates a taper when you spin it, giving it a little bit of a halo. If you look, you can build it up even more just to give it more of that halo perspective, and that goes from that. So, yeah, we got through what I wanted to. The HDFA variant, the Purdy Chingon, and again, I'll get more of the videos of the low water Batis and the ICU midge, and just so you know, that's the low water Batis. I had them ready. They would have been up to bat. Great pattern for really spooky and picky fish, and then that's the ICU midge right there in the red color. So, man, that went pretty fast. And let's see, I had other questions for you guys. I was going to hit you up on movies and series you recommend while you're in self-isolation and stay-at-home orders and all that. And I was just going to see what people were drinking, any brews or anything like that. Hey, Malbec wine, there you go. Love it. You were thinking ahead of me. So I was sipping on some local Ascension IPA from Ex Novo Brewery here in Albuquerque. And let's see. And of course, everybody's watched Tiger King. Waco, the series, was pretty interesting. Magnum PI, going old school. Yeah, so anyway, love, again, thank you for watching, or thank you for tuning in. You can find me on Instagram, obviously, Facebook. I do have a YouTube channel, NMaktima Fly Fishing. Check that out. I do have a Patreon account as well, so you can look into that. A lot of my subscribers get stuff exclusive to them, as well as, you know, some other monthly perks. And let's see. Oh, is anybody watching Bob Ross videos? I just wanted to see if anybody's into that stuff. And on top of that, look forward to tomorrow. We got Charlie Craven on the signature series, 7 p.m. Same thing. I guess he's doing nymphs this time. I know he was the first to kick off this whole series. So he'll be doing nymphs tomorrow. And you can find the schedule of fly tires in the link in the Umpqua bio. So go ahead and you can look into that and click it and go from there. Yeah, and like I said, Umpqua Feather Merchants, check out their YouTube channel. I will give them higher quality video. That way you can go back and basically follow step by step these patterns and the techniques. So I appreciate it. Hope you all had a good time. And I think we're going to wrap this one up so I can archive this for you guys. And I'll also replay it on my Instagram page as well. So, all right, y'all. Hope you all enjoyed it. Appreciate it. I'll see you on the water soon. Take care.